So this is a real mission piece because this degree affords anyone who might be learning differently to come back and get a college education.
I am Lawrence Payne, a proud graduate of the University of St. Thomas, class of 1972. Please join us each week for a wonderful program here at Mac Studios from our campus entitled For Such a Time as This. Each week we examine with our guests the social, economic, spiritual, and emotional issues that we face as human beings. Our discussions are rooted in unconditional love. We look at the 2 feet of Catholic social teaching, charity, and justice. Please join us here from Mac Studio for Such a Time as This. Welcome to this week's segment of For Such a Time as This. I'm your host, Lawrence Payne. We're coming to you from the beautiful campus of the University of St. Thomas, where we discuss issues pertinent to our community and society each week on this podcast. We're so glad to have you join us. We want to thank you for your calls, emails, and text messages concerning previous shows we've had here on For Such a Time as This, and your great ideas for guest topics and subjects to be covered on upcoming segments. It is really a great opportunity for us as a community to grow internally and externally here on the University of St. Thomas by reaching out to you with this fine programming that we do here. I'm very happy and proud to have as my guest this week someone who needs not much introduction on this campus, but perhaps to some of you who may not be familiar with her, and that's Dr. Nicole Walters of our wonderful Department of Education, and now in another role, which she will tell you about in a moment. But that's really where she came in and joined us originally, and has made such a great impact, not only in the College of Ed, but also now in her new role and new work, which she'll explain in her new title. But the programs that she is doing and the programs that she's helping to make happen and to grow and to expand are really at the heart of what the university is all about. It is that outreach to the community. It is that outreach to the children of color, to the students of color. It is the outreach to those who, as we look at the demographic shifts in our community, will be the majority. They're already the majority minority. They will be the future workforce of the city. They will be the students who need extra time, extra care, extra concern, extra one-on-one, hands-on, which she and her cohorts do through this program exceptionally well. So I'm just so happy and proud to have Dr. Nicole Walters join us today. So without further ado, welcome, Nicole.
Oh, Larry, thank you so much for having me. You and I have been such longtime friends, and it is really, truly an honor for me to be here with your audience and to address what we're doing, what I feel like is my most important work in this life. I was a former associate dean in the School of Education, and now I am the founding dean of the Kolbe School of Innovation and Professional Studies.
See, I wanted her to say that the whole thing herself. So say it again, Nicole. Yes. Say it again, Nicole. Yes. It's really it's a great title.
It is the Kolbe School of Innovation and Professional Studies. That is our 2-year program. We offer associate's degrees and additional continuing and further education for students might not decide if they want to go into just a 2-year degree, if they want to reskill or upskill, or if they want to go into a 4-year degree. I like to look at us as the Catholic Community College, where we are a one-stop shop before students enter into our traditional undergraduate programs at UST. I did write the program. I founded the program. I've built an amazing group of men and women who are passionate and very committed to this work. As I said before, I do feel like this is my most important life work because you teed it up beautifully. We really are a program that looks at students who might not otherwise decide if they want to go to school or to get a higher education, but they deserve it. And as a Christian woman who has a very deep faith, rooted in the Catholic intellectual tradition, I believe that everyone deserves not just an education, but a good one. And so we designed a program for working men and women, are those, again, who are trying to decide what they want to do. So we have 6 programs that I'm so proud to talk about. Our first 3 are in the technical fields, and that is cybersecurity, networking technology, and electronic technology. And we designed those programs to ensure that students could go into a job market that right now is STEM, and that is one of the hottest fields that continues to grow in all sectors, biochem, petroleum, health and human services, engineering. And so it really does. Those 3 degrees are technical, and students are able to get certification while they're here and work very efficiently and convenient and work at their own pace. And it's a 60-hour program. So those were the first 3 that we started out with. Then we expanded. The pandemic does not look like it's going away anytime soon. So we had to also address other needs. A lot of individuals were impacted by being home, either having to teach their children on Zoom or there were jobs lost. And so we had a large number of folks that were abusing substances and needed counseling. And so we designed a program that is a drug and alcohol counseling program. And so those individuals learn how to work with individuals who have been impacted through drugs or alcohol, and they receive licensure to counsel those individuals. And that program has grown tremendously. Lots of people have been impacted with the pandemic. We also started a general business degree. That degree is a one-stop shop for all things business as it relates to entrepreneurship, marketing, human resources, economics. And we have a lot of folks who are business owners and they wanted to come back and learn how to do QuickBooks, or they may want to be a bookkeeper for their own business or go somewhere else. And so that general business degree affords them that opportunity as well. And then our last degree that I'm very proud of is our pragmatic studies. And that is a program for students who might learn differently. So these are young men and women who may have been in special education in the public or private school sector, and they did not know that college was an opportunity for them. So this is a real mission piece, because this degree affords anyone who might be learning differently to come back and get a college education.
What struck me as you were going through the list of the 6 programs, the plethora of things that they cover and the issues that they address, it's also the things that people need and are dealing with and wrestling with every day.
Yes.
It's a very practical program. It meets the needs of people, as you mentioned, with the drug addiction, with alcohol issues, with wanting to go back to school and learn business, be an entrepreneur, whatever it may be. We fit that. When you use the word the junior college, the community college of the Catholic tradition, it stuck with me because what that says is, as junior colleges and community colleges do, they really tailor make their courses for the students. They work with their age population that they have, the variety of that age population that they have, as we do now with this wonderful program here at St. Thomas. And I love that phrase you used. We work with students, people who may be learning differently.
Right.
That's a good way to put it, particularly with the age disparities that you have and the age range you have, rather not disparity, the age range you have, and people coming back and trying to think about what is my role, my place, my function, where do I fit? How do I belong in this society and this economic world that's changing so drastically around me? And I think you give them such great options. Choices to explore.
Right. Yes, we do. And really, when I hear people say that I wasn't sure, I've been out of school for so long. And now you've made a place for me. I work with some really committed and passionate individuals in this program, and they really go the extra mile to ensure that our students feel cared for, and they have that one-on-one instruction, and we follow up with them. We just hired an academic success coach for all of our students, so that when you start here, we're going to stay with you through the matriculation of your program with us, and that makes students really feel really welcome. And so another thing is, it's caused us to learn how to instruct differently.
Yes, it does. And as you were speaking more and more, that alignment is so important with the Catholic intellectual tradition, as you mentioned earlier, because it is all about the human being. It is helping human beings not just to survive or even to thrive, but to flourish.
Right.
Catholic tradition is about helping human beings to flourish to the fullness of their God-given potential.
Right.
And I think we do that with the emphasis on being each individual, working with them as they need to be worked with, in the way that they need to be, not the way we think they may need, to help them to fulfill that flourishing kind of lifestyle. And as you said, when we add that to the Catholic social teachings, and we add the aspect of social justice to this, then we are in line with trying to help every aspect of the human being, social, economic, political, spiritually, to help them succeed.
Right.
And I think that's the difference in it. Somebody said, what's the value difference, added value difference in a Catholic university and the weightedness of it? I think that little domain right there, that little area of specificity where we focus in on the total human being,
yes,
I think is what makes the difference.
Right. And, the thing is, when people say, well, what makes your program so different? Well, first of all, we have throughout our program infused with philosophy and theology and much of what our four-year students are taking and learning.
Mm-hmm.
And I designed that on purpose so that if they decide that they want to transfer into one of the 4 years, well, they can do that because they've already taken philosophy and theology. And again, that is so inherently important to who we are as a Catholic institution. So they have to understand where philosophy falls in line, where theology falls in line, and how that applies to their individual discipline. So we have some really smart and talented faculty who are able to tailor, well, why is it important for me to know ethics as a cybersecurity expert? Why is it important for me to know, the dignity of the human person if I'm a general business major? And so we're able to take those very important tenets and apply that to the different disciplines, and they're very much enjoying it.
No, and in society we live in today, the issues of being able to be a fair, just, honest person with integrity is probably the highest standard we can bring to the dialogues we're having.
Right.
And I think the question that I think the program, as you continually talk about it and frame it and reframe it and lift it up, the cornerstones for me are the words transparency, trust, and accountability. Mm-hmm. That we infuse in them, whatever you do, wherever you go, those three things are important in any arena that you work in any area that you choose to work. And that you have to really work with those three things to have them occur with intentionality and mindfulness.
Right.
And so, and I think that what is happening in society today played out in every way that we see, whether it's in education, whether it's social, whether it's economic, and Lord knows if it's political, and even some would say in spirituality, that we are really challenged and called to be people of faith, of integrity and character, but to live up to what we say we believe, what we profess we say we believe, and put that in action in every aspect of our lives, in our personal life, our professional lives, and our public lives, which we all have all three of. And I think that's why this groundedness and rootedness in this program gives that human being, that individual, this extra sense of how important this stuff is to their lives, as you so clearly articulated.
Well, the other thing is, Larry, it also enables us to look at addressing some of these achievement and opportunity gaps, right? Because we have a real sense of parity when it comes to education. And again, I share with students, it's a privilege to be at UST. It's a privilege for me to work here. It's a privilege for you to be a student here. And so for us to design a program that is trying to really eliminate these barriers of opportunity, meaning I want to give you an excellent education that will really enable you to do well for yourself, and not just for yourself, but for the community and greater humanity. So we're looking at things on a very global sense, a very humanistic sense, but really looking at how are we trying to eliminate, the achievement gaps. And so I have students who are as young as 19, who are as old as 60. And they're all learning that, you're taking a very special degree that has a lot of value, and we expect you to do something good with it. And we expect you to come back and share your knowledge and what you've learned. And really, like I said, to make things better, whether it's in your industry or your community. So, the piece for me is the equity piece of making sure that we are really addressing and touching on many different individuals who might be considered underserved or the have-nots. And so we're very intentional on having a faculty that looks like our students. We have a very diverse faculty. We have a very diverse student population. And so we want to ensure that our students feel like they're having to interact with faculty that understand them where they are culturally and where they're understanding them socioeconomically as well.
Yeah. Again, that's where the Catholic tradition comes in.
That's right.
You're not talking about equity, you're doing equity. You're not talking about lifting up each one to an issue of equality. We're doing it. And I think the point that's so interesting as you weave and talked about the programs, it has built-in equity. Mm-hmm. It is dealing with the least, the last, the lost, some would say, of our society, who need it the most, who need it the worst. But we're doing it without having them to feel that they are being treated any differently because they're less than.
Yes.
Or not better than, but we're just doing it because we care, because they're human beings.
Right.
The old Catholic nun would say that all we're doing is giving each student, each individual unconditional love.
Right. And not making them feel like they're less than. We don't want anyone, I think you said that, Larry, we don't want anyone to think that they're weak. We don't want anyone to think that they're vulnerable. These are students who are deserving of any other education as any other student is.
Let's just kind of extrapolate out the next 5 years. What do you see as the future being and the changes that must occur or will occur to keep pace with the things you just talked about so clearly delineated that has to happen?
Yeah, we have to really make sure that we are preparing students to understand technology. We are in a very digitized age, and we have to ensure that we are developing a system where they are technologically savvy and they are digital natives, because that is the workforce that is coming to Houston and other areas beyond. We need to also make sure that we understand culturally where students are, so that when they work in companies, it's diversified and there's a place for them. The buzzwords are diversity and inclusion. But again, they can't just be buzzwords. We have to really ensure that we make a space for those folks and that we really understand the market. We live in a very large city that works with energy, and the energy sector is not going away. And so we have to make sure that students are prepared, engineers, petrochems, folks who really know that carbon is the next big thing with energy and data storage. Are we preparing, the workforce to address that? So these are big trends that institutions and academicians such as myself need to really understand, so that we're not just, developing programs that we like, but we're developing programs that students can get out and have a job and address.
As we think forward now, in the socioeconomic context in which we're educating these students, how have the issues of the reality of all this negativity, divisiveness, us and them, we and us, I and me, how has all that affected their really ability to focus and to see how all this stuff is interconnected, interrelated, interdependent on each other?
Well, I will tell you, it's a conversation that relates to where do they find, is there a place for me? The political spectrum and so much. Exactly. There's so much rhetoric and students are wondering, where do I belong? And, language can be very divisive, which is why I said, what's coming along is diversity and inclusion, and ensuring that we do make a space for them, that everything is connected and everything that we do. Again, as it relates to them being leaders of faith and character, we do talk about politics, and we talk about, how as the Catholic intellectual tradition, how do we fit into that political scheme of things? How does our faith make decisions as it relates to voting and the rights of others? And so at the crux of it, though, it's about the human person. So how do we make every individual feel like they're connected and that they belong and that there's a place? And so as an educator, that is always at the forefront of my thoughts of when I'm developing programs, even hiring individuals. Again, I mentioned it's important that our faculty reflect our population of students so that they hear things that sound like what they've grown up hearing, or they hear from people that look like them, because everyone wants to look at someone who either identifies with them culturally or, socioeconomically, or another construct, so that they feel like there's a sense of belonging. And that's what we're about at UST, the sense of community. All of this relates to, we want you here and we're going to make a space for you.
Yeah. And I think the other aspect we get to touch on without actually sometimes even speaking to it is the question of faithful citizenship.
Oh, yes.
Which you talked about in different ways, excuse me, and it's interwoven. Because I think when they see the pieces apart from each other and then can see the whole of how they all fit in, then this is just part of my personal responsibility, my commitment, my accountability to myself and to others Therefore, I must be involved in the electoral process, in the political process, in the policy changes. And so that's just part of who I am in the other aspect of my life besides just a job and a career, et cetera, and feeding my family and taking care of that, that I have these other parts of my being that I also must have attention to and pay attention to.
And caring for others, caring for the community. And you're not just here by yourself. You're not here on an island, and that you have a real moral duty and obligation to your mankind, to your fellow mankind. And so every week we do an exercise called the social justice scenarios, and we give them scenarios and they have to debate, what would you do? And it is so rich because, again, I share with them all the time, you're thinking, it just inspires me because you're going to be the ones who's going to change this landscape for the better.
Yeah, because the common good is a learned thing.
Yeah, but we teach it here very easy. It's from the moment that they step in the door at UST. We talk about, the whole bit about goodness, discipline, knowledge, and community. We want you to have all those things, but they're all intertwined as to what it means to be a community. And we do everything as a community.
So we probably have about a couple of minutes left. So I'm going to give you those couple of minutes to wrap up and to make sure we touch on anything we have left out that you want to make sure we hit this afternoon. So please do so.
Well, Larry, I want to say thank you so much for allowing me to come on your show and to talk about, of course, something that is so passionate with the work that I do, the Kolbe School of Innovation and Professional Studies. I really feel like we're doing wonderful work, mission work, that's going to change this world. And I'm just fortunate that you're giving a space for other folks like myself to come on and talk about social justice issues that are going to impact education and how we live and work. And so I'm excited about the future. We're continuing to grow, and we continue to ask for your support and your prayers as we bring men and women who are looking for an excellent education, and they're coming to the right place, University of St. Thomas. And I'm excited that we've been able to have this opportunity to develop a program that sees the value of a 2-year degree that will possibly go into a 4-year, but that we really feel like are going to change families and lives for the better. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you for your wonderful commitment to the program, to UST. Thank you for bringing and developing these set of programs. So we look forward to you joining us on future segments of For Such a Time as This. As always, we thank you for being part of this. So be well, stay safe. Until we come together again, peace, power, and love.